Hello, everyone. Thank you for being a part of my presentation. What I have found interesting is that not only am I learning from what the literature says, but a colleague of mine was able to interview 10, uh, um, 10 debilitating anxious students in a mental health ward, and they had a lot of information to help educate us on how we are to design classrooms, because based on some of the literature, we're getting it wrong. And so I'm going to share with you what they have recommended it as soon as I can figure it. There we go. So what is debilitating anxiety? Because we all have anxiety to some level, but it becomes debilitating because physiologically, what happens is our neurotransmitters, especially gamma aminobutyric acid, is out of the line. We either are not making enough of it, or our brain receptors are not catching it to help our brain function. So our brain circuitry is always on alert, and we never calm down. And so we're talking about students who are constantly battling their anxiety, battling panic. In addition to what their body is doing and their mind is doing, they're also having environmental threats. We're hearing a lot about school victimizations, shooting in schools. So a lot of that can impact how they see what is safe in their school systems. According to the Center of Disease Control, the Youth Risk Behavior Survey said that the majority of anxious students experience a lot of these bullyings and not feeling safe at school. And therefore, they would determine their mental health is classified as not good. And they would say that this would be not good all the time or always. So this is something that anxious students are struggling with in our school systems here in the United States. So what does that behavior look like? Well, first of all, it, they're so consumed with their fear. They're so consumed with trying to be normal and actually determine, is this safe? And safety is the key for them, that they don't pay attention to instruction in the classroom. They are so withdrawn, they are so within themselves as to try to maintain safety, try to maintain a sense of composure. And a lot of complaints that you hear, that teachers will hear from their students, it has to do with hot headaches, heart palpitations, nausea, having trouble breathing. And those are the keys for teachers, the heart palpitation and breathing. Because if this child comes from a family that has heart disease, the last thing you want is for a child to have a heart attack, because they're starting to have heart attacks at younger ages. So if you have a child that is having anxiety and experiencing panic, and what happens is that they're not breathing, they end up choking. And so this is really an alarm for a lot of teachers of how to help this child. And it's really important for these youth, once they know they're starting to escalate, is to stop and find a place where they can process and get a sense of control, because there's really no cure for these debilitative anxieties. There's just, can I control it? It's really hard also for these students to go to teachers for help, because they're still combating that fear. And so you have a lot of problems with classroom attendance, school phobias. These youth are just wanting to stay home, and they're not building their relationships with their peers, which is so necessary for human development. They're missing out on that. So educational programs, educational websites have proposed a lot of these wonderful, cute, vibrant, cool, safe rooms, calm rooms to have. And as you can see, there's a lot of color. There's items here that talk about calm down, things to do where you're calmed down. I thought, oh, this is so nice. And then I found one by Jillian Starr And I thought, oh, wow, this is really professional. I really like it. And Jillian Starr said that students do need to have that privacy once they're starting to experience a higher level of a heightened attack. They need to go to a place where they can feel safe and process and try to get something to distract themselves, to calm themselves down. And she recommended to educate all students so that they can see the room, explain what this room is for. So with one of the debilitated youth interviewees, I said, what do you think about all of this? The first thing that she went to, she looked right at these items here. And she said, this is not, and she almost froze. And she said, this won't work, this won't work, this won't work. And I said, well, what's going on? And she said that in order for people like me, us, to feel safe, we have to make sure that nobody touches our stuff. And she says that she and some of her other friends are physically beaten, thrown to the floor, and she would say that she would rather have that done to her than somebody touching her stuff, because these are special sacred items they may have to help them calm down, help them retain their life. And if somebody is messing with their stuff, it's they see germs crawling all over, so they have to go through rituals, whatever, to help cleanse it and keep it clean. She also does not like the rug, the material of the chair, the material of the pillow, for that same reason, too many germs. What she did like are the plants. That's what she liked best about this photo. Nothing here. This is too cluttered. This is too stimulating. Too many germs. So what our and this comes from an educational website. So what we're producing, what we're suggesting would be help for a calm room is not at all. In fact, it's even more, they're more disgusted, they're more heightened in their sense of, I can't feel safe here. There's too many bugs, there's too much there's too many germs here for me to even think about calming myself down, because I don't feel safe here. And for them, safety is the key. You have to feel safe before you can feel calm. So one of the interior designers, who also suffers from anxiety, said that schools or homes should be made of natural materials like stone, brick, and wood. Here is a picture of the difference. Some schools have this kind of background. If a student is starting to escalate into their anxiety, they can start to become disorientated, and they will forget where they are. And they were like, am I really in a school? Where am I? Am I being locked up? Where am I? And it makes it even worse. The heart starts to palpitate. They could have a heart attack. Different things could happen to them. So when the interior designer, and when you read in the literature about feeling a sense of familiarity, they're talking about what anxious people are familiar with to feel calm, such as this: clean, natural light, natural materials. And you have to be careful what you read about how to have designs that will reduce your anxiety or stress. Because even though Lincourt got it right about avoiding institutional white tiles and ceiling, this person also added to use soft draping material wind chimes instead. My interviewee said, absolutely not. That is not familiar to us. If you don't see wind chimes hanging from the clouds, or if you don't see soft draping coming through the sky, that's not natural. That is not familiar. This is stuff that can be cluttery. This is stuff that can collect dust and dirt, and therefore is germ. And we don't want that. We can't feel safe around that, which, okay, I'm learning all kinds of things from you. And they're like, just let everybody know this does, what they're doing in schools is not helping us. I'm like, I'll do my best. And even Solomon said that even though Carpets and area rugs gives that home-like cozy feel, which for a lot of us is familiar. Definitely do not use that in the classroom. So these photos here of all the fuzzy stuff, all the little carpets, the fuzzy stuff, do not use that simply because of the germs. Do not use those because of bacterial growth, infections. These are the minds. This is the mindset of what people who have debilitating anxiety deal with constantly. It doesn't ever go away. So the visual environment needs to be, I think that was the number one thing that even the interviewees talked about, is that visual environment, your artwork, your color, and your nature. Okay, so I'll just go through this real quick. Adding artwork of things such as landscapes, natural scenes, animals, especially bird in flight, helps those who have debilitating anxiety feel normal. Why? Because that's their familiarity. Anything that's in the environment, their topography, really, because a person living out in the high desert would have a different topography, a different sense of familiarity than someone living in the mountain range. So the area of topography. Color, and again, this has to do with topography. Color. Warm colors may tend to enhance a feeling of arousal and stimulation, where cool colors can produce a calming effect. Again, it depends on your culture, depends on what you've learned, and your topography. Nature. Adding real or artificial plants can help have that focus to familiarity and reduce that risk management. And there's all kinds of researchers that have backed up that yes, this will have a calming effect, but you have to make sure if you're dealing with anxiety that it is considered whatever's out in nature. Whatever is out in nature, then that is familiar to them and with their topography. Okay. Authors, interior designers also look at ambient environment such as music, acoustics. You know, that listening to that slow musical tempo can help reduce your anxiety, and students have talked about that. What they have suggested is that's great to have music all the time, but they get tired of what they call elevator music, and they would prefer to choose something of their own. And I've got a slide about that in a minute. Aromatherapy. There was a study where the scent of orange or lavender has proven to reduce stress. There hasn't been this kind of work done in the school system, so I'm not sure. But if aromatherapy tends to help with that youth, maybe it's okay for them to bring a vial of some kind of oil or something they can breathe to help them focus. That would be something immediate that they could grab. And then technology. Sometimes they need to have their cell phone. Let me call my mom. Let me call my dad. Let me just make sure like they're okay. I'm okay. So these are things that interior designers have suggested. Now, with the students, the 10 youth that were in a mental health ward, they had suggested, and this is in our textbooks as well, is that their senses pick up on everything. It's intensified, that they're overstimulated, and they make assumptions, usually negative assumptions, about what their senses are telling them. So if the outside of the school looks old and run down, then that is going to suggest to them that how they're going to be treated, how the staff is going to be treated, is worn out. We're worn out and we're not going to give you the care that you need. Okay. But they have stressed, just like with the literature, it's important to talk to us, especially so we know we can relay, this is my condition, and it fluctuates daily. So this is where I am today. This is what I need from my teacher. This is what I need from the school nurse. It also empowers them if they can rehearse. A child who has never gone through a fire drill or tornado drill, I'm sorry, it's like, what's happening? but especially one with debilitating anxiety. That teacher needs to rehearse with them many times so that they got it, because the whole time their mind is battling them with negative thoughts. The whole time their brain is panicking twice as much. So rehearsal is very, very important. Again, with our anxious youth, the first thing of most importance is the aesthetics. It won't be calming and inviting unless it looks safe. Looking safe includes the outside environment, whatever is happening on the inside of their topography, that needs to be in that space, that needs to be in the schoolroom. Depending on your topography may dictate which colors are peaceful colors. This group talked about green, blue, brown, and gray, and said abstract art does not support our health. So I had asked, what does that mean? And it basically said that they're I gotta grab my battery. It basically said that when they see abstract art, it seems to suggest that they're looking at somebody's disability, that they're looking at somebody else's nightmare. And so for them, they're dealing a lot with, is this really happening? Excuse me, just a moment. So we're looking at, is this?
You have about 2 minutes left.
Okay, thank you, because my battery, thank you. So anyway, let me just say that the more natural light can come in, the better, because if their mind is starting to play tricks on them, having that light helps them to discern what is really in this room with me, because sometimes they can see figures that aren't there when they're starting to dissociate, when they're really starting to panic. They can have trouble with reality. They talked about having loss of access to doors, which is changing in our school system. If you think about it, schools are starting to be redesigned because of school shootings that are happening. So that means less entrance, less windows, more closed off. And for these students that suffer from debilitating anxiety, that can be a real hardship. They also provided some examples what they would need to feel safe. That includes chairs with high back chairs. And I said, why is that? They want their neck and their head protected. Comfortable temperature with individual weighted throw blankets, or a pillow, which they can make. The school doesn't have to provide that, but they can make that themselves, putting in some kind of gem that has a smell to it, a wonderful smell, or just something that they can hold on their stomach. That would be wonderful, something that's weighted. They don't want to be crowded. They want their personal space. Avoid hard, cold surfaces. And again, that familiar material is something that is outdoor. For quick and fast distractors, food. It's immediate. Give them something to put in their mouth. That will distract them, as well as music, looking out at something, puzzle book, something where they can, use math to focus their brain on and distract themselves. Having distractors help them. In regards to music, again, they like to have that background music. It helps as a distractor, but they would like to choose what they listen to. And I thought this is really interesting semantics. It's okay for us to choose our music as long as it's not bleeding very much into another person's space. And I put that in there because I'm like, wow. I mean, they are so critical in being safe and looking at, no, I don't want to look at abstract art. That's somebody else's disease. I don't want, that'll trigger me. And I don't want your music to bleed into, it's just amazing, their perceptions on what they have. Also, another perception, I'll jump down here, is volatile organic compounds. They worry about air quality. Volatile organic compounds, they said, we don't want to worry about if chemicals and the cleaning ingredients are gassing off or breaking off on a molecular level and infecting our bodies. I mean, this is the mindset that these young people have, is they're worried about volatile organic compounds, bleeding, their needs bleeding. And
I'm gonna have to stop you because we are over our time.
okay, thank you so much. Thank you.